A day in the life of the fake news industrial complex where journalistic integrity goes out the window. So Trump held a press conference about infrastructure, and the hysterical media started asking questions about Charlottesville instead. And Trump tried twice to keep them on topic, but they kept wanting to ask about Charlottesville. But here's a brief summary of what Trump said at the conference. First of all, he reiterated word for word what he said after the violence in Charlottesville. Now, the press created this notion that Trump should have denounced white supremacy, and the press accused him of taking too long to respond. And so in response, Trump said, "I wanted to make sure that I was correct, not make a quick statement. It takes a while to get the facts." And he said he didn't even know that David Duke was there. Trump also noted that the mother of the woman who was killed actually thanked Donald Trump on Twitter for what he said. Trump also renounced the driver of the car as, quote, "a disgrace to himself, his family, and his country." And he said the driver of the car is a murderer, and what he did was a horrible, horrible, inexcusable thing. Trump also pointed out that not all the people were violent on either side. And Trump also pointed out that George Washington and Thomas Jefferson were slave owners, and therefore he asked the philosophical question, should we remove everything to do with them as well? Where does it end? So now let's see how the Destroy Trump media twists and distorts the truth. First, we have ABC. Trump lashes out at alt-left, says find people on both sides. Wow, what a distortion. You see, they lied by omission. They tried to falsely make it sound like he only lashed out at the left. And ABC falsely tried to make it sound like Trump said everyone, including the white supremacists, are fine people. Total distortion. Then ABC has more propaganda to whip up a hysteria. Trump failed at test of moral leadership with Charlottesville. More like Trump not afraid to tell the truth, even if it inflames the snowflake PC scolds. Next, we have the Washington Compost. Under mounting pressure to set clear moral tone for the nation, instead lashes out defensively. First of all, who's mounting pressure are we talking about? It's pressure from the anti-Trump media and the left. They created this whole outrage. And who says he didn't set a moral tone in the first place? He already condemned it. And what kind of journalism is it to say, instead lashed out defensively? This is not journalism. Making it clear that white nationalists and supremacists were taking part in a lawful demonstration. Again, this is a total distortion. The author's trying to make it sound like Trump said the violence was lawful. Again, Trump simply explained that people on the right had a permit, and Trump said that some of the people were there peacefully to take a philosophical stand. But the Washington Compost cleverly wants you to believe otherwise. Down here, Trump's off-the-rails press conference. Again, this is not journalism. They're trying to characterize Trump as crazy. Never mind that it was the journalists who repeatedly hijacked the press conference, which was supposed to be about infrastructure. What else? Not my president? Cherry-picked anti-Trump statement. Here's another slanted anti-Trump article. And I find it amusing that they have to explain what the alt-left is. Yes, because you never report on the violent alt-left and how they destroy property, beat people with bicycle locks and bats, and use pepper spray and light people on fire if they don't agree with them. And here's another fake news story. Trump makes it clear that he sides with the alt-right. Completely false. Trump never defended the violent people. He came to the defense of statues. And how it's a slippery slope that tomorrow, next week, we'll be taking down Jefferson and Washington, and who knows, maybe we'll be destroying Mount Rushmore. But according to the Washington Compost, if you defend statues, you're racist, you're a bigot, and you're alt-right. Next, we have MSNBC, which takes the route of just appealing to people's emotions and prejudices by crying racism. And MSNBC is trying to cast doubt on Trump for the next election. More anti-Trump propaganda. Lawrence O'Donnell trying to smear the president. And here's the granddaddy of all propaganda. Trump's remarks aid white supremacists' political ambitions. Wow. And Chris Matthews, who looked like he was going to have an emotional meltdown when Trump defeated Hillary, attacking Trump for daring to point out that the left showed up with bats and no permit and with intent to fight people. And MSNBC cherry-picked a misinformed person at the rally who called Trump a liar. Just pure anti-Trump propaganda. Next, we have the LA Times. Trump provokes new furor by giving foes of white supremacists equal blame. I mean, is it any wonder that there's so much hatred of Trump? The media is just brainwashing people with this stuff. Next, we have CNN, which has gone full Huffington Post with this headline, Trump is who we feared he was. Trump emboldens hate mongers who will view his comments as a stamp of approval. This is not news. This is all out propaganda. This is like Nazi Germany stuff. Yeah, CNN, the most trusted name in news. What else? The race moment Trump seemed to relish. So according to CNN, Trump is a racist and he relishes being a racist. The 14 most shocking comments from Trump. I mean, just pure propaganda. The New York Times, more propaganda. Trump gives white supremacists an equivocal boost. When Trump equated anti-racism protesters with neo-Nazis, yeah, Antifa, they're fascists. They show up at events wearing bandanas and vandalize property and beat people with bats and bicycle locks. They're fascists because they're bigots. They're intolerant. And the New York Times is defending them. And then here we have the New York Times taking a stand against monuments. Isn't the New York Times supposed to be unbiased journalism? Why don't they have a story asking the philosophical question of, when does this end? Are we going to tear down the Washington Monument because Washington was a slave owner? The New York Times is not news. This is an opinion piece. And that's before we even get to the opinion section, where, of course, everything is anti-Trump opinion. And then finally, we get to Fox News, where something to do with North Korea is actually rightfully the #1 news story.